Okay, so I'm going to do this video just really talking about Tacoma. It's been a while since I talked about Tacoma or Seattle, actually, to be honest with you, either one of them. We have gotten so many questions about Seattle and Tacoma. I've actually started getting more questions about Tacoma versus Seattle recently, and I've noticed that. I do want to say that if you send me comments in the comment box, usually will respond to those pretty quickly because I have to make sure that there's no idiot posts. Sometimes there's people that will post stupid stuff, or they'll post spam, or they'll post hate type stuff, and those get instantly filtered out. So I will reply to a lot of the comments that you guys have or questions that you have pretty quickly there. If it's an email, I will go to that, but you gotta understand we also do a lot of work through our email, so a lot of times it's kind of like in order. So if I don't get back to you immediately or within a day or two of you sending an email, just give us a little bit of time. We're really busy typically, so we will definitely make sure that we get back to you, and it will be a detailed email. Much more so than what will be replied back in the comments typically. So I do appreciate all the questions that you guys have. Be sure to send us questions anytime that you have them. We feel honored that you trust our opinion and judgment and knowledge that we try to give you. So just want to say that. It's 2017, so again, it's time for a video that talks about Tacoma, and I'm going to go into this a little bit. Now, I do want to address something that talks about Tacoma. People are afraid of Tacoma because of bad information. Now, Tacoma is not someone posted a comment on one of the videos that talked kind of negative about Tacoma, saying that it was violent and that type of thing. That's absolutely not true. Really, even if you went to Beverly Hills or Hollywood, those places are violent as well. If you're looking for crime, it's going to be anywhere. It doesn't matter where it is. And I think that Tacoma, to be honest with you, gets stigmatized because it's a very diverse community, a very diverse city overall, and it's not a city where you have a lot of executives living. So because of that, and because people have perceptions, then they're going to put Tacoma in a category that's just completely unfair. Most of the people that make bad comments about Tacoma being not a safe place either haven't been to Tacoma ever, haven't been there in the last few years, going on hearsay, or just, like I said, being unfair. If you're looking for trouble, you can find it anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's my hometown of Bowling Green, Kentucky, 60,000 people, if it's Indianapolis, Indiana, if it is Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Seattle, Woodinville, Bellevue, you name it. You're looking for trouble, you're going to find a problem. It's as simple as that. You mind your own business, you follow the law, you do what you're supposed to do, you're not going to have thug dogs coming after you typically. When you do actually start seeing a lot of the crime issues in Tacoma, it's because of people doing stuff they're not supposed to do. It's as simple as that. And you know, I definitely study a lot of the stuff in newspaper, non-news. I have yet to find an innocent person that hasn't done anything that's been affected by some sort of crime in Tacoma. I'm sure it's there. I just haven't seen it. Now, I have seen some of that in Seattle, but I haven't, but when I say some of that, I'm talking maybe 2 instances of it. As far as Tacoma goes, I haven't seen it. Not saying it doesn't exist, I just haven't read anywhere, seen anywhere where that's happened. People are basing what's going on in Tacoma, or what they think Tacoma is about, based on stuff that happened 20 years ago or something that happened almost 40 years ago. I was born in 1978. So some of these people are going on what was told that happened back then. Neighborhoods like Hilltop back in 1978 probably were pretty bad. I mean, you know, Tacoma was a very rough city at the time. If you compare, you know, per capita, the violence level there versus Seattle, yeah, it's a little bit higher than Seattle, but not by much. And also, Tacoma's a much more poorer city. I mean, it's a much more affordable city out of all the other cities. Tacoma has, the reason why Tacoma doesn't have a huge booming population like Bellevue and some of these other places, which Tacoma is bigger, by the way, but the reason why it's not growing as fast is because traffic is a beast. Just heading south, horrid. For two, Tacoma has had that negative stereotype as being a gangster city. For three, a lot of that has to do with the port area and factories, and there's, you know, people used to say you could smell a certain type of smell when you go to Tacoma. You can smell the fact that you're in Tacoma because of all the industry and stuff like that. That stuff's gone. You know, Tacoma, when I'm down there, I sniff the air. I smell the same thing when I come up to Seattle. There's no different. The port in Tacoma is bigger than the one in Seattle. The crime rate, I've been down in Tacoma at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning in Hilltop as we're looking for houses and stuff. I hear crickets, literally. There's not that element that people want you to believe. But again, are there pockets in Tacoma that are pretty rough? Yeah. Are there people down there that, you know, are pretty violent? Sure. But I can't think of any community in this country where there's not that element. It is what it is. So, wanted to get that out of the way. But I do want to talk about what's going on in Tacoma. The ST3 package was passed, and that stands for Sound Transit 3. It's the third edition of Sound Transit, where they're going to actually have $54 billion worth of transit options that are going to be taking place. Now, a lot of that deals with Seattle and that type of thing, but some of that also deals with connecting Seattle to Tacoma. Now, it's going to take a long time for that to happen, but it literally allows for Tacoma to be connected for the first time via light rail to Seattle. Now, currently there is the Sounder train, a big commuter train, which goes from Tacoma to Seattle and all the way up to Everett. And in fact, because of Sound Transit 3, there's going to be, I think, 2 more additional connections, or 2 more additional times that the train will leave from Tacoma up to Seattle. So that is a big help. Right now there's a few, maybe 6 or so different times that it actually connects. So it's going to actually increase that quite a bit. Also with ST3 dealing with Tacoma, you're going to see the light rail line, which currently there's what's called the Tacoma Link. It's a streetcar. It only goes for about 1.8 miles currently, but now they're going to more than double that, and it's going to basically go up through the Hilltop community. So it goes back to Hilltop. Hilltop is actually a highly sought after neighborhood by many different people, and it's actually currently facing some gentrification. So, but the new streetcar edition down there, which will be done in the next 4 to 5 years, is going to literally connect the hospital campus, what's considered to be the medical mile. It's going to connect that all the way through to downtown. Currently, it just runs through downtown. It stops at a certain point. It connects the U District, or not the U District, I'm thinking of Seattle. It connects the University of Tacoma, University of Washington, Tacoma. It's late, I'm sorry. It connects that to many different points, but then it's going to start to connect a lot of other neighborhoods in that. So the Stadium District, those types of things are going to be connected, which includes the Stadium High School, which is a pretty well-known high school, and that community there and all of that. So that's a really, really good thing. Eventually, it's going to veer off all the way to the community college, which takes you almost to University Place, which is a nice community outside of Tacoma. So that's going to be a very long, and also with that, it will connect you to the minor league baseball team that Tacoma has, the Tacoma Rainiers. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be a long time before that part gets added. But the next section that will be added will be coming very soon, and they will be adding much longer streetcars down in Tacoma. So the current streetcars are what you see in Portland and what you see in many of the other cities around that have streetcars. But what they're going to do, and what you see here in Seattle, but what they're going to do is actually get those longer streetcars. You probably will see a lot of those in Europe, the flex type streetcars, I'm assuming. I don't know for certain, but they're going to be much longer. So they're going to be upgrading the stations to be a little bit longer to accommodate the growing population. With that said, the growing population down in Tacoma. Not only are they increasing the number of commuter trains going down there and also expanding the light rail system, but they also are going to finish up all of the bridge work and everything else that's going on down there that deals with the interstate. A lot of the traffic issues due to all the construction going on down in that area because they're trying to fix the actual interchange that's down there to accommodate the massive amount of traffic that they're expecting to actually go down there. In fact, most of the people ask me more questions now about moving to Tacoma versus moving to Seattle or some of the other areas around Seattle. They're asking about places down in Tacoma. With that said, I want to talk a little bit about Ruston. Ruston is a community, a neighborhood, if you will, that's being built right on the edge between really downtown Tacoma and the Deception, Point Defiance. So Point Defiance is where you will see, I was going to say Deception Pass, it's a completely different thing. Point Defiance is where the aquarium and where the zoo is, but it's also a very large, very large wooded nature park right there. So not only are you in the city within a 5-minute drive, but you can go to 5 minutes the other way and you're in nature, like literally nothing but trees around you, tons of trails, all of that. And it also has a beach there in that massive park. Do yourself a favor, Google Point Defiance, and you will see the park that I'm talking about. It's on the tip of Tacoma. It's a really unique area. You can also see ferries go back and forth to the islands from that beach that's there. But also Tacoma is building up its waterfront. Now Seattle is known for building up its waterfront. They're still working on it. But Tacoma is also doing the exact same thing. So they're actually redoing a huge amount of the waterfront. You couple that with what's going on in Ruston, all of the new buildings and restaurants that's going in, and a lot of the stores and shops that are going in. Ruston is a place to look for. If you're wanting to have an area that's a little bit more of a luxury type style, Ruston is going to be your option to look at. Again, do yourself a favor and Google Ruston. It's going to be, just type Tacoma, Ruston, R-U-S-T-O-N is how you spell it. That's going to be an area that is going to really see a lot of growth in the next few years. Most of what they're doing down there is very appealing, very attractive. Again, Ruston is pretty much within walking distance to Point Defiance Park. And with that said, let's go back into downtown Tacoma. Recently, in the last few years, they talked about building a mall right in downtown Tacoma. And this is going to be more of those kind of like an outdoor type mall with shops and different things like that. That's been kind of held back for a little bit. And then recently there was news about it. Now there's like a delay again of a month because they're trying to do some different things and easements and things like that to actually make sure that traffic flow is not going to be impacted while the construction is ongoing. But with that said, the new revamp of this mall is going to be much bigger than what they had initially asked for. So they're going to really and truly expand the amount of square footage. It's going to be a really unique thing, and I think it's really going to make downtown pop. With that said, there's a Chinese investor who is getting the financing together from other folks in China and that type of thing, which will bring, I think it's HB1, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on the visa, but basically it's where if you are a foreign person and you basically have a lot of money and you want to build a project in the United States and you reach a certain amount of money that you put into an investment and you get other people involved and they put that similar amount, then they can become a citizen over time. So that's what is going on down in Tacoma. They've done it here in Seattle. It's going on down in Tacoma. So they're building a large hotel to the convention center. Now, Tacoma's got a really nice convention center that's right downtown. Now, this guy is going to build a very tall hotel tower right next to it. Eventually, he's going to build another tower that will be a residential tower right in that same block. But it's going to literally connect the convention center along with this huge building that they're going to actually put down there. This is in the works as we speak, literally. You're probably going to see construction going on this year on not only the mall that I mentioned about, but also this big, large tower that's going to be built down there, several stories tall. I forget how tall it's going to be, but it's going to change the skyline. And with that said, the final thing I want to talk about is the number of apartments going up in downtown Tacoma. There's been a lot of apartment buildings going up, mainly because of the streetcar line, which they call it the Tacoma Link Light Rail, and that expansion, the anticipated expansion. There's been a lot of that that's driving the apartment build, but also people are moving down there because Seattle is becoming too expensive. So Tacoma is becoming more affordable. So they're building all of these different apartment buildings down there. Some of them are already completed. Most of these are going to be what's considered mid-level apartment buildings. So they're not like the big 40-story high-rises built here in Seattle, but they're more or less like 12 stories on down type thing. Some of the other news in terms of that is there's an old building down there that used to be a bank that has been converted into apartments. So they're now going through floor by floor. I forget how tall it is, but it's one of the tallest buildings down there. And they're literally turning that into apartments completely. Right across from the Freight House Square, which is kind of like the little, it's kind of like a mall, but it's more or less like a craft type mall. They're building also apartments there. Right there in Freight House Square, the Amtrak station that's there is going to be huge. And if you look at the video that I have that shows when we were in Tacoma during Mother's Day, you will see what Freight House Square looks like and where that area is going to be. But that's going to be a huge development. And then finally, they also are building a micro unit apartment building down there as well. It's going to be about an 8-story building or so, but that's going to add an extra 100 or so. So I think they said there's going to be about 3,000 units overall built or started in 2017 in and around downtown Tacoma. That gives you an idea. The prices in Tacoma are cheaper than they are in Seattle, but they're growing faster in Tacoma than they are in Seattle. If you notice, the rents in Seattle are kind of like this, like that, and in Tacoma they're going up like this because there's a lot that people can start to charge. That also means that housing is going to be more. Now, here in Seattle, you can't find a house for $80,000. I mean, you might find a grassy lawn with 2 sticks and they will sell that for $80,000, maybe. But in Tacoma, you can still find a house for $80,000. Now, you may need about 50 or 60 different contractors to actually go in there and do some work on it, but you can still find it. You can find a decent house for the 150s down in Tacoma. You can't do that here. Even a burnt out building, a burnt out house is not $150,000 here in Seattle, even if it's condemned. It's crazy, but true. So anyhow, I wanted to do this video, wanted to get you, you know, kind of informed on what's going on in Tacoma. I'm going to be down there actually looking at houses. I'm going to be talking to a realtor. So I'm going to actually take some video, pictures of things that are down there. Hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I'll see you. Take care.